one of the key mistakes that investigators have made in the past, not so much recently, but more so in the past, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, was that when they were investigating a crime, whether it was the police or the FBI or what have you, they would look at the components and the things in which this criminal they were investigating had in order to find out their motivations, their interests, things they owned, and things like this. But as of recently, particularly in the last 20 years, what a lot of investigators have come to realize is that the key is not looking at what they have, but the key is actually looking at what they don't have. All right. So before I do that, I just want to give a shout out to a nice woman, Mahalakshmi in India. I want to thank you so much for watching. And I also want to give a special shout out to Brother Dominic, the Christian mystic. And the reason why is because I want to mention very quickly, it's because of Brother Dominic I was able to put this episode together and make it go full circle. So again, I want to mention quickly, I want to thank you guys so much for those who reach out, whether it's email, Instagram, whatever, to help me with information, because it genuinely works and it genuinely helps connect a lot of dots that I couldn't have been able to do myself. So I don't want to take the credit for something I didn't do, obviously. So again, Brother Dominic, thank you. Now, the beast. Before we jump into the beast and what this episode's been titled and what everything's all about, what we need to understand, we're going to go step by step here, so just bear with me. We need to understand the chronology of the universe, all right? Not based on the Big Bang, but based on the entity and existence of which everything itself of the universe, the fabric itself, exists right now within this particular realm. So, according to Wikipedia, the chronology of the universe describes the history and the future of the universe according to Big Bang cosmology. Now, this is where I believe personally they got it wrong, but that's not the point. The chronology of the universe describes the history and the future, and the earliest stages of the universe's existence are estimated taking place roughly 13.8 billion years ago, with an uncertainty of around 21 million years at the 68% confidence level. Why do I bring this up? Well, here's what we're going to notice. The cosmic timeline and the chronology of things are deeply intertwined with quantum computation, at least within this realm, and with other forms of science, spirituality, and mathematics that are deeply intertwined and make up everything around us. Okay, we've established this. What would some refer to this as? Now, for the sake of self-description in this episode, I want to refer to something called key energy. Now, according to many different sources, key energy is the unseen life force in your body and everywhere around us. It is a universal energy that penetrates everywhere, uniting all the manifestations of the universe, visible or invisible, in this realm or not in this realm. Mostly in Japan is it referred to as ki. China refers to it as chi or ki, and in Sanskrit it is known as prana. So there's many different definitions, many different religions and spiritual subscriptions and ideologies give this form of ki or energy composition and meaning. But what we have to take a look at here, and this is again partly thanks to Brother Dominic, is that there are a lot of news articles that have described harnessing this key energy from the mid-2000s that have been deleted and not even archived, completely removed. However, there are time machines, digital time machines on the internet that actually allow you to go back and take a look at these articles, even if they've been deleted by the original source. So again, this is thanks to Brother Dominic, and I appreciate that. Now, if we take a step back to 2004, putting the picture up on the screen for you guys right now, we're going to see here, brain in a dish, flies flight simulator. A Florida scientist, this is CNN, has developed a brain in a glass dish that is capable of flying a virtual fighter plane and could enhance medical understanding of neural disorders such as epilepsy. The living computer was grown from 25,000 neurons extracted from a rat's brain and arranged over a grid of 60 electrodes in a petri dish. The brain cells then started to reconnect each other and reconnect themselves, forming microscopic interconnections, said Thomas DeMars, professor of biomedical engineering at the University of Florida. End quote. Long story short, this brain of a rat was able to literally bring itself back together and fly a literal miniature plane in a simulator. This is the brain of a rat. Now, this article has since been deleted, but thanks to many different digital time machines, we can take a look at these archives, right? Now, what's interesting about this is that this rat's brain is harnessing key energy, Ki, right, as I just mentioned. Now, the interesting about this energy is that This is also indirectly connected to something called blue brains, where people with actual colored brains that are blue are being kidnapped and rounded up. But that's for an episode coming up soon. But it's important I bring that up. Now, when we take a step back, what we're going to find with all of this type of harnessing of energy and electrodes and neurotransmitters and microscopic realignment of brain cells, we're going to find here that the secret to a lot of things and accessing this key energy is right in front of us. Now, why is the key energy so important? Because it is the basic composition of the foundation of the chronological order of the universe that quantum computation has partly been able to explain for us, right? Now, let's take a look at, again, the Wayback Machine, the digital web archive from Veterans Today. Highly reputable website. This is not some third-rate site. Now, if we take a look, this has since been deleted. This was published in March 1st, 2013. It's called The Beast. Now, here's what the most important part that really stuck out to me was. This beast is essentially a neurotransmitter that is using human brains from deceased humans or kidnapped humans or ones with the blue brains, but that's, again, it's for a different topic, that is then being connected to a machine to simulate and essentially be able to predict every single possible scenario within this realm. Now, this machine harnesses key energy, Ki energy, right? And when we take a step back and we look at this, it is referred to as the Beast because the reason why this was built was actually because of the Majestic 12 program, when the humans under President Eisenhower and the Americans specifically realized, pardon my English, holy fuck, we have no way of defending ourselves if these aliens decide to attack us. That's essentially what it was, specifically post-World War II. Now, yes, were there some pieces picked up from Hitler's operations and things like this? Absolutely. But the main point here was that Majestic 12 was responsible for a number of different things. And just a quick recap, the Majestic 12 was a handful of military generals, scientists, cosmologists, and all that were brought together secretly in order to reverse engineer and weaponize and be able to create many different apparatuses and machines and systems that would be able to help protect us. One of the key things here is this machine. Now, this machine is called the Beast. So, according to this web archive and Veterans Today, it says over here, it has been rumored that the Beast runs numerous parallel simulations of American society and every other society of the world, including their intel, defense, government, and populaces. Because any information we have is all based on leaks and rumors that are highly possible, one cannot refer actual evidence of existence at this time, including any location, who may have built it, or who runs it, as described by such rumors. Now, the Beast is given access to people who have SSG clearance, which stands for Secret Shadow Government Clearance. Now, look, end quote. Now, before I go on, I just want to say, you might be laughing and saying, Dave, why would they call it Secret Shadow Government? Well, guys, look, this is the part of the psychological warfare, not so much the predictive programming, but the psychological warfare aspect. And what I mean by that is this. They've given these silly names in case anything ever gets out, that it sounds so ridiculous people wouldn't believe it. And because they run Hollywood, or they implement the most subversive predictive programming elements into the main Hollywood films, this is sitting in our mind, so our brain subconsciously immediately refers to this as, oh, I saw this in a movie. Nah, that's bullshit. That's exactly how predictive programming and psychological warfare work. Now, what we need to do, because I only have so much time to cover, is this beast is allegedly connected to the Human Brain Project, which is apparently over now, that only spanned for about 10 years. It was a scientific research project based on exascale supercomputers that aims to build a collaborative ICT-based scientific research infrastructure to essentially study neuroscience and all this. Now, the Human Brain Project never really ended. It only changes names, and it changes different dummy and front companies via the CIA under non-governmental organizations and nonprofits and NGOs, so that they don't have to claim taxes and disclose nearly as much information as they would have to if they were a public or private company, right? Now, the Beast is directly connected to the Human Brain Project. The Human Brain Project has evidence to suggest that it is indirectly connected to Battelle, and Battelle is another a dummy front company, essentially, for the CIA that I just spoke about in yesterday's episode, that has to do with controlling the scientific branches of politicians, geopolitics, celebrities, influence, classified element materials, and things like this. Now, here's where it gets really good. Again, this is according to Veterans Today, another article that was completely removed but has been able to be accessible through this digital archive time machine. Now, This is incredible. So, we know for certain that the alien agenda is empowered by the third force, which is evil and has set up its own artificial intelligence system by which it can control the leaders of Western nations and a majority of the citizens too. The third force is the process of consolidating all of Earth's political powers into an NWO globalist system run out of Jerusalem. After all, Israelis are removed by war and pestilence. Okay, now, end quote. There's so much to cover here. I encourage you guys to check this out for yourself. Now, lots of things are tied into religion, but what we have to understand here is that no matter what religion you subscribe to, the energy all around us, at least within this dimension, is that of the key energy, the Ki energy, which could be described in many different ways, right? Now, when we take a look at this, it could also be referred to as the God particle in many senses. What we'll see here is that the elements mentioned by Phil Schneider, these EBE elements that do not exist on the current periodic table within the human world, or at least on Earth, elements that cannot be extracted from at least the surface of the Earth. We don't know about underneath, but anyways, that's not the point. That are put into these ships, not just element 115 that Bob Lazar has spoken about as well, but other elements that go up all the way to element 140, allegedly even 144, but 140 is the most accurate representation according to whistleblowers. These elements are put into all of these galactic aircrafts, and these aircrafts are then able to harness this element's energy and extract a vibrational frequency and able to descend or transcend into different dimensions, not parallel ones that would allow for an ascension, similar to that of when you astral project, or similar to that of when you remote view, except at a much more higher level and in a much higher form. And so this is nothing new. People have witnessed UFOs vanishing into thin air, not disappearing as in they shoot off, but literally turning invisible. Now, yes, we could say this is an invisibility cloak. I'm not naive. I understand that. It could be that, but at the same time, we have to consider the possibility that multi-dimensional beings are harnessing these electromagnetic frequencies, and whether it's paranormal, whether it's UFO, whether it's alien, whether it's in a dream, whether it's lucid dreaming, astral projection, remote viewing, like I said, there's something there that electromagnetic frequencies hold that the government on a secret classified level understands that they will not disclose with us, that make up the ability to curate and choose which dimension we would like to jump into based on how we harness these frequencies and vibrations, right? But again, this is because things like radio waves are able to do this so simply. It's right in front of our faces, but they don't want us to know about it, obviously. Now, the next thing I want to take a look at very quickly as well is that there's a gentleman by the name of Johann Fritz. I apologize if I butchered his name, but he's an ex-military gentleman who was essentially a metaphysician and an ex-marine with highly classified access to things. Now, he has confirmed these galactic fleets do in fact exist. Now, I would dare to say one of the reasons, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but I gotta say it because nobody else will, one of the reasons why this gentleman, Johann Fritz, is not believed is because he seems a little bit schizophrenic. That's no disrespect to him. Many have said that I seem schizophrenic too. So I understand where this Mr. Fritz is coming from. He claimed that on these galactic ships, there's all types of species from greys to reptilians, and the reptilians actually eat human skin and flesh as their food. Now, as ridiculous as that might sound, before you turn away and say, okay, he's talking nonsense, let's look at all this and take a step back. Does he have proof? Absolutely not. Did he have former high-level clearance? He in fact did. That is on public record. So, is he making this stuff up? It's possible he is. But at the same time, I don't doubt the fact that he's been on one of these galactic ships. Now, whether or not he's doing this as a way to try to communicate with these reptilians or try to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm still here, because it seems like, no offense to Mr. Fritz, it seems like he's in a bit of a desperate need to be able to reach out to one of them. What we have to do here is we have to take a step back and say, okay, we can only take him by his word. This was a guy who had former high-level clearance. The reason why nothing's been done to him is because, and it's terrible to say, it's been argued that he seems crazy on his own, and as do I. I seem crazy on my own too on this show, right? But thanks to those who actually listen to the message I'm saying, you guys believe me, and I appreciate that. Or you at least want to hear what I have to say. Now, when we take a step back at all this, what we're going to see is that these EBE elements are directly harnessing, and they create a metaphysical barrier that surrounds our galaxy, that acts as a form of a protection system harnessed by these ships that are able to ascend or descend into different multi-dimensional realms. Now, not parallel dimensions, that there's a difference between that, but the beast simulates itself and harnesses the key energy and the energy all around us into different simulated worlds and into parallel dimensions to provide the best outcome, at least for the United States. As to whether or not other countries have this technology is hard to say. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say this is part of some massive new world order kind of thing, but at the same time, we can't rule that out either. So when we take a look at the human brains that are disappearing from people who have passed away with zero explanation whatsoever, what we're going to see is that there's been evidence to suggest, according to, again, Phil Schneider and many others, that in the Dulce base, there is an alien-human hybrid attempted to be made. Now, on the genetic side and biological side, it's absolutely possible, but the difficult part is harnessing the key energy through this machine called the Beast in order to curate a soul that is that of a non-psychotic one, not an emotionless soul. But again, it depends on what they're trying to do. So the thing about this is that I think I've sort of underestimated or underemphasized what this beast does, what this machine does. And so what we have to understand here is that I'm not trying to make it seem like brains are being harvested and collected to power it. It doesn't power it. It helps control it and create more of an intellectual basis on it. What I mean by that is it essentially makes it smarter. The more neurons attached to this machine, the beast, the better it is. Right? The more it can simulate possibilities, therefore the more simulated possibilities occur, the more the US can prepare for these things and the more they can actually influence their control over the world. Whether that is a good thing or a bad thing is entirely up for perception and up for debate. So, I want you guys to let me know what you think. I know that I was a little bit all over the place in this episode, but there was just so much to cover that I didn't want to sway away from the main message here. So again, please let me know what you guys think, and we will catch you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much.